Come on, clap. Come on, if you came with a praise on your lips, can someone shout the name that's above every other name? Shout Jesus. We're going to say, I know he loves me. I know he cares. Whenever I call, he always is right. When I'm in trouble, he is my help. And I know no fear. I know he is right. He really does what he says he will do. My God really moves. Oh, why would I doubt when he always comes through? My God really moves. Oh, he really, really moves. Oh, come on, let's sing it again. Come on, say it. I know he loves. I know he loves. I know he cares. I know he cares. Whenever I call, he always is right. When I'm in trouble, he is my help. He is my help. And I know no fear. I know. Let me hear you shout it out. Say, hey, he really does what he says he will do. My God really moves. Why would I doubt when he always comes through? My God really sing it. He really does what he says he will do. My God really moves. Oh, why would I doubt when he always comes through? My God. Come on, give God praise right here. Come on. He really, really moves. Oh, we're going to sing it together. Oh, man, let me hear you say, oh, man.
Good morning, good morning, good morning, TKC family. We want to welcome you to our Monday Morning Connect. Monday Morning Connect is our opportunity to do a recap of our Sunday service. I got some guests on. I'm Pastor Deron Dixon. I am pastor of community and care at the Kingdom Church. I have two of our ministers with us. We want to introduce them, and then we want to dive in today to go over this phenomenal sermon that our pastor preached on yesterday. We have with us Dr. Danielle, one of our ministers at the church. Dr. Danielle, wave to the people, say good morning.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you all for joining us this morning.
Right, one time. Then we got our Minister Charles. Charles, my brother. Go ahead and
Good
say
morning.
good morning to the people.
Good morning. Good morning. How everybody doing? I hope all is well.
All right. For those who are watching live, we welcome you all, and those who will be watching the rerun of this. We wanted to let's dive in. I mean, Pastor has started this phenomenal sermon series, fanning the flame, talking about relationship. We're in Love Month, and he started off with this phenomenal message, just taken from Matthew 19:9 through 12. From baggage to the bedroom. That ought to get some noise right there. From baggage to the bedroom. So let's highlight a few things. One, those points that he shared with us. Correction one, withheld in childhood becomes chaos released in adulthood. First point. Second point, he talked to us about people who lie in relationships often learned that truth was unsafe at home. This is something we learned. And thirdly, he had a phenomenal illustration for this one. What you won't unpack in counseling, you will certainly unpack in conflict. And so the whole thrust of this message, what Pastor started out just talking with us, sharing with us that this text was evidently written because what we discovered in the time, even then and now, that relationships had to be a difficult thing to see through eternity. And so because of that, we had this text that spoke to it. What does it look like and how does it feel? I want y'all to dive in. I'm gonna let Doc go first. Dive in, talk to us. How did this sermon impact you, or what did it speak to you on yesterday?
I think one of the big things that I ended up pulling out that was really important for me was we go through life and we're often taught are questioned around, can we question God? Should we even question God about what's in the Bible, what's written? And so, in the beginning of this passage, when Pastor David talked, we see clearly that there is a questioning that's happening about, okay, now I know what was shared by Moses, and well, I know what you shared about marriage, and then Moses goes back and changes it. Lord, what does this mean? Why are we now allowed to divorce? What does this even mean? And so I love that Pastor David touched on that, because it just really gets rid of this myth that we can't question God, or why are we questioning God about the word of God, and when we see changes and adjustments and things that are made. And it was very clear that, he said, I made marriage so that two could become one, but it's difficult for that to be the case, of course, because your hearts are hardened. And when that occurs, what we have is a difficulty of two remaining for life. And so how Pastor David just walked into that, I think that's what pulled number one for me. The second thing that definitely pulled for me, that spoke to not just my life personally, but what I get to do professionally, is that the trauma, what you do not heal in your childhood and what you do not address in your childhood will eventually affect what happens in your adulthood. And it comes out as chaos. And so when we look at what trauma is, just from the aspect of work I get to do, but also growing up in my life, trauma is a life-altering experience. Trauma is not just a life-altering experience. It could be occasions things that occur over time, multiple times, that truly not just impact a person physically, but trauma is what impacts them mentally. And so when we even just uncover that in the passage, we see Pastor David really went into conversation about what he saw generationally with David, with King David, and just what we ended up seeing happening from childhood into adulthood. And so that was a very powerful thing. And trauma doesn't just change a person, but it also can stunt their growth, stunt who they are, who they could become, or their destiny. And so when we talk about relationships, I think it's just so important that we look at the unpacking of what happens in people's lives as a result of trauma, or just situations and issues that occur. So that's what stood out to me. And we can go into a little bit deeper there. I think you're going to go ahead and go, Charles, because it looks like Pastor Duran.
Gotcha.
Go ahead and share.
You pretty much took everything, but I like the aspect of the 11:15 message is what I listened to, and when he talked about Abraham lying to Abimelech, saying that Sarah was his sister, and then you see Isaac lying, and then you also see in Jacob ultimately deceiving his father into thinking that he was Esau. And you see a lot of those uncorrect behaviors, which is why he said correction withheld in childhood leads to chaos being released in adulthood. And working with the youth, so working out of school, I have been able to see certain kids who were in elementary school and now in high school, and you kind of see some of the behaviors that weren't checked in elementary school. Now it's coming back to haunt them, in high school or even into adulthood. But nobody just reaches adulthood without childhood. And so there are certain things that have not been corrected with Abraham and Isaac and Jacob, just letting a lot of things go unchecked, and you end up seeing it cost them ultimately. Even though God was with them, I like that fact also, because we look at the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and you bring, you can kind of, put them on a pedestal, but when you really break that word down, you realize that Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob were just like us. Trauma. So even the greatest people that God used in the Bible still had trauma and still had things that they had to go through and experience it. So he definitely made the text relatable yesterday.
Yeah, let's dive in. I mean, he was talking about that piece, and we talked about this earlier in our chat, just about the generational curses and generational habits, how these habits are passed down if they're not checked or corrected, and those habits become what Pastor said. They are baggage that we hand off in our relationships. And so we have to deal with them if we don't deal with the trauma and deal with that. And so there were some key points, man. And Pastor was dropping some dimes, man. I mean, I'm talking about a very, very solid message to the David part where you're talking about. He was just talking about how the power that he has and the rejection he felt also came out within how he acted as leader, where the rejection, was a seed that caused and matured and caused problems even as an adult. And so, I mean, let's talk about it. I mean, we all have a background, a history, and we find ourselves in relationships, not just marriage, because he was key to say this is not just marriage. We have relationships on our job, relationships in ministry, relationships, period. How do we deal with just unpacking that baggage? Talk to me.
I think that's really good. One of the things that Pastor David shares is that rejection with the situation with David, King David, is rejection creates an appetite. Power determines what you eat.
Absolutely.
So that was one of the bars that was like, ooh.
Bars.
You got that chill. And so I think what's really, really important is that if we have this understanding that we all operate as leaders and in some form of leadership in our lives, that we're going to come with that illustration that he did, that beautiful illustration with a pastor, and Dr. Katia, that the baggage behind them, you don't see that, but you see the person. And then you don't realize what that baggage is. And so I think, growing up for me, I grew up in a very, very traumatic life experiences, from seeing a lot of physical abuse, from domestic violence to also growing up with a mother and father that had severe addiction and mental health issues. So if you can only imagine growing up from the age of, as I remember, as early as 6 years old to 21 years old in the foster care system, you're talking about someone who dealt with systems, someone who dealt with rejection, someone who dealt with not having a parental figure. And so for me, the unpacking isn't that you just take the suitcase and you pull everything out, because no one can handle that level of unpacking, even a therapist. Over time, there were situations and opportunities where there were people in my life, whether it was a therapist or my spiritual mom or my spiritual father, or my caretakers at the time, just people that were allowing for me to be who I was, even in my destructive ages and stages, all the way to where I am today. And so I always tell people, I don't look like what I've been through. And we always, we make that mention. But for me, I know that's absolute truth because of my history. But what God does is he allows for you to slowly begin to unpack that thing and unpack all these traumatic events and situations with different people, with different aspects of, physical health. Like for me, I was really big growing up into cheerleading. And so cheerleading and physical exercise and with my friends and having those moments of joy, but also having those moments of sadness in safe places and safe spaces with people. And so I think that was really, really important as I grew up. And even as an adult, I have to check myself as a leader. I get the opportunity to serve as an executive director. And so I have to make sure that, are there those childhood traumas that are coming up, are presenting themselves in different ways. And so having a therapist, looking at, it's really important to have relationships and friendships with people that help you to journey through life. And when I say journey through life, even what Pastor David said, you have a friend in the darkness, and there are stars in darkness. You don't know that they're there until it gets dark. And so having those people that in the midnight hour, when you don't have the words to pray or things to say, that you can reach out to. And so that is the unpacking. So I just want to make sure that we make it very clear. The unpacking isn't you take this suitcase out in one moment and you're going. It's over time. It is over time that unpacking happens. Charles, what do you think?
So I want to get another aspect on the relationship thing. I can't come behind that. But it ties into the relationship when PD talked about his speaking engagement in Tampa, and there was a pastor that he called, Pastor Chris, and the pastor responded, "Please call me Christopher." Now most people just say Chris, and so that was the first person I heard who actually wanted to be called by his whole name. But you know what? He has that prerogative, and so PD said, "Well, I'm gonna change it." And I think Pastor Christopher could have just not said anything and had, and just been upset, with people just continuing to call him. And then maybe, he could have one day just, went off. And so I just thought about when PD said, I'm not saying it word for word, you can't deal with what you won't reveal. And so him revealing what he would like to be called. And so I feel like sometime in relationships, whether it's marriage or friendships, how often are people, for whatever reason, afraid to really be upfront and honest and tell people something as simple as a name and what I like and what I don't like? Well, hey, I don't like when you raise your voice. I don't like when you do this. I don't like when you do that. And so a lot of times I feel like in relationships, there has to be proper communication and a person telling you what they like and what they don't like. And so a lot of times I think if you don't reveal it, you can be upset with somebody for doing something that you never told them was wrong. And so definitely that open communication got to happen.
Listen, I think to that point, to both of your points, I mean, Pastor quoted, and I'm going to paraphrase Miles Monroe, just that successful relationships, marriage comes by knowledge, not just love. And so what we both are talking about is knowledge, unpacking knowledge. The illustration of Pastor Jonas and Dr. Katia opening their suitcase, giving out knowledge, opening up, getting therapy, even to the point of Pastor Jonas. I saw it. He tried to pass it on, talking about carry this for me, carry my baggage. And we learned that in relationship, friendship, connections, a lot of time we do such a thing. Listen, man, this series, I'm so excited about it. It's Love Relationship Month, and we're all in this week. And so I want to give you all the opportunity. One last thing that may be burning on your heart before we get up out of here. We only have 20 minutes to do this. Y'all go ahead. Give me one last thing burning on your heart.
You want me to go first, Charles? Look at Charles.
Y'all might have more than one. Look at him.
For me, I just think as far as, my thing would be for those that are single and still in the dating world, like you got to go past like attraction per se, and not saying that that's not important, but you got to really dive into, and I don't know if it's quite sure how easy it is to unpack, but there definitely, I believe, has to be a little bit more transparency in the dating world and more being upfront and honest about what you are and what you're willing to deal with and what you're willing to tolerate. And just being upfront, man, and just putting your cards on the table a little bit, and not always having your best foot forward. Because when you do get into relationships, the bags are coming. And then it's, oh man, what was this? So I just think, with relationships and just anything, there has to be a little bit more transparency.
Yeah. And Doc, before you go, because Pastor mentioned something there that it's a collision of our histories. And so as we have this collision of our histories, we definitely have to unpack. We have to do what we need to do to ensure success within it. Go ahead, Doc. Go ahead. Dive on in.
I think one of the things that I would just leave us with is really the last point that Pastor David made during 11:15 service which is sometimes we get together in relationships and friendships, and we both can be sick. And once one of us gets healthy, we don't like the way the other person looks because they're still sick. And is that true friendship? Is that true relationship? And so I think what's really important for us to consider is how do we remain in relationships with people, provide and create boundaries that are healthy boundaries because they're spoken boundaries, because we understand that no matter what, when two become one, whether in relationship, friendship, marriage, whatever it looks like, there is going to be the baggage that's there. And so it is a part of our responsibilities to help to speak grace and space in people's life in order to help them to heal through their journey. Maybe it's not that you maintain some level of that the relationship looks the same or the marriage looks the same. Maybe again, it's spoken boundaries. And so I just would like to just drop that in there, that we get rid of people real quick, and some not working out, but
man, thank you, Doc. For sure, we got to get healed and whole together. And that's the whole purpose of this series. We want to deal with this, make relationships better. Pastor is really heavy on that this month. And so before we go out, man, we just want to encourage people to go back and watch the rewatch of the message. It will bless you if you do so. And so guess what? What y'all know what Wednesday is? Wednesday is for us. I wish I can sing. I'll sing it. It's
Church
our anniversary. Anniversary. Listen, we want to invite the people out. Make sure you all come. We're on a fast throughout the day Wednesday. We got noonday prayer in our Creole Chapel. Come be on campus with us at 12 noon, 12 to 1. Come start the day off. And then at 6:30, we're looking for you to come. The one and only Pastor John F. Hanna is going to be with us. We got Tim Bush coming in. We're looking to have a great anniversary, maturity and connection. And so we're inviting everybody to come out. Listen, one last thing before we go. You may not have had an opportunity throughout, did not get on Sunday to give. And we want to give you that opportunity. These are ways that you can give. You can dive in by way of Zelle, Cash App, or go online and make sure you drop your seed if you did not get an opportunity. And then if you feel led, say, hey, man, I like what this church is doing. On yesterday, we did a wonderful job of giving out produce for Heart Health Day. We gave out greens, tomatoes, beans, lamb. Y'all know we gave all that stuff out on yesterday. And so we want you all to help us do what we're doing. Continue to connect with your church as we follow God.
Follow God, love people,
And do what? Change the city. All right, let's do it. God bless you all. Have a wonderful day. Thank you, Doc. Thank you, Minister Charles, for coming on with us. We praise God for you all. Have a wonderful day. We'll see you all next week, same time.
Yeah.
All right, y'all have a good one.
All right.